This capsule may look like a museum piece, but it's not what you think, because its hidden purpose waited 300 years for someone to speak her name. Metal whispered under a glove. Frost traced pale veins over smooth glass. The whole place felt wrong, like breath held too long. Rows of dead machines stood in silence, heavy and still, as if time itself had been packed away and labeled. In the center, a narrow chamber held a blue-skinned warrior who looked both asleep and alert, a blade resting across her chest like a promise. The hilt seemed simple, the edge a calm curve, the kind of weapon you might call ceremonial if you didn't feel the quiet threat it carried. Light slid over her armor and refused to stay. He said the name because the order told him to, because the records called it a retrieval, not a sin. Air hissed. Seals let go. Cold rolled out, thick and white. She did not jolt awake. She rose, smooth and sure, as if pulled by a line from the dark. Her eyes opened, blank white, bright and depthless. They drank the light and gave nothing back. He reached for his sidearm and could not move. The blade balanced on her palms without slipping, as if it remembered the weight of her hands better than gravity. Her head tilted, not cruel, not kind, only curious like a storm looking at a house. Then she spoke, her voice doubled and old. "Where am I?" If this awakening wasn't handled exactly right, then Protocol Oblivion would trigger in 10 minutes. No appeals, no second tries. The system would vent the air, light the fires, and burn the room so clean that even the memory of it would be ash. Logs would vanish. Cameras would go blind. Names would become blanks. The countdown glowed on the wrist display, each second a small hammer. He understood what that meant, plain and sharp. Personal stakes. He dies here, lungs empty, body turned to numbers that no one keeps. Moral stakes. Her people's last true story goes dark again, buried under another official silence. Political stakes. The man who ordered the purge keeps his version, the neat lie that says the blade was only a threat, the woman only a weapon, the truth only noise. 10 minutes to choose, move, and live, or let the clock finish the work it was built to do. He stood frozen, breath catching in the cold, the echo of her voice still vibrating through the vault. She looked around, slow and deliberate, studying the chamber like a queen returning to a ruined throne. Her bare feet touched steel that should have burned, yet she did not flinch. "You called me," she said softly. He nodded, words breaking in his throat. "By order, I was told to recover an artifact." Her eyes turned toward him, pale light spilling out like a wound. "Artifact?" The word sounded like an accusation. "You speak as if I am a tool." His throat tightened. "You were never supposed to wake." For a moment, silence filled the space again, thick, watchful, waiting. Then, in that stillness, something ancient passed between them. Not peace, not trust, but recognition. Two people out of place in time, caught inside the same trap. The capsule's lights flickered. Systems that had been asleep for centuries began to stir, whispering in broken code. She turned toward the sword, her hand closing around the hilt. The air shivered, humming like a wire under tension. "The blade remembers," she murmured. "It knows your kind." He stepped back, pulse racing, and the metal floor groaned beneath him. "I don't know what you think I did," he said quietly, "but I wasn't there." Her white eyes lifted, unreadable. "And yet you stand where they stood. You breathe their air." Her grip tightened. The sword came alive, faint blue light crawling up the edge like fire climbing dry grass. Then the alarm blared, sharp, mechanical, merciless. Red light swept through the vault. A voice cut across the speakers. "Contamination detected. Protocol Oblivion. T-9 minutes." Before he could react, the wall behind him exploded inward. Smoke and sparks filled the chamber. Figures stormed through the breach, mercenaries in scarlet armor, weapons raised. They weren't soldiers of the Alliance, but scavengers paid to clean up mistakes. The woman, the warrior, moved first. She was motion itself, cutting through the chaos, blade flashing with impossible precision. He fired beside her, shots cracking against metal and chitin, and for the first time their movements matched. His aim guided her strikes, her speed covered his flaws. They were strangers fighting as if they had done it 100 times before. When the last attacker fell, Silence returned, heavy and trembling. She turned to him, breath steady, blood dark against blue skin. "You gave orders," she said. "I followed them." He looked at her, stunned. "You trusted me." Her expression shifted, something almost human there, fragile as frost. "Your voice kept me alive," she admitted. The alarm pulsed again. 8 minutes. Without thinking, he tore a strip from his sleeve and pressed it against the burn on her side. "Not enemy," he said when she flinched. She looked down at the fabric, stained with both their blood. "Survivors," she whispered. They ran. Through narrow service tunnels slick with frost, down ladders shaking with pressure alarms. Pipes screamed overhead, systems dying in sequence. She moved ahead, sword low, cutting through debris. He followed, eyes on his wrist display, the clock bleeding seconds away. "This way," he shouted, dropping into a shaft. She landed beside him without sound. The path ahead was small, meant for machines, not people. "Keep going," he said, sealing the hatch behind them with plasma fire. Sparks danced on the metal like fireflies before dying in the cold. "Where does this lead?" she asked. "Exhaust vents," he said. "If we can reach them, we live." Her white eyes met his in the flickering light. "Then we run faster." And they did. Two shadows racing through the bones of a dying vault, the clock chasing close behind. They reached the final chamber, a blast door sealed with codes above his rank. The countdown showed 4 minutes. "Can you open it?" she asked, her tone calm but urgent. He pulled a small chip from his pocket. "This was in Colonel Warren's locker," he said, sliding it into the control slot. The door's screen flickered, then a voice filled the air. Warren's voice. "Authorization accepted. Omega clearance." For a second, relief flooded through him, but then the next words hit like a hammer. "Purge the vault. No witnesses, no relics. The project dies today." The screen went black. He stared, speechless. He planned this. The attack. The purge. Everything. The warrior's eyes narrowed. "He wanted me dead," she said softly. "And you with me. Clean hands for dirty work?" He ripped open a maintenance panel, revealing tangled wires and live circuits sparking in the cold. "We can overload the power line. Blow the lock. And who closes the circuit?" she asked. "Who takes the surge?" He hesitated. "I will." But she placed her hand on his chest, just above his heart. "No," she said. "This pulse kept me alive. I won't silence it." He shook his head. "There's another way." He looked at the blade in her hand, still humming faintly with energy. "When you woke, that sword took the charge. It can channel it again," she understood instantly. "Pain is temporary," she whispered. "Oblivion is forever." The floor trembled as alarms screamed. 3 minutes, he shouted. She raised the sword, pressed its edge into the door panel. He yanked 2 wires free and slammed them together. The room exploded with light, white and blue, louder than thunder. Electricity poured through the sword, the walls, their bodies. The seals shrieked and split apart. The door fell open with a crash. Smoke rolled out, the light fading. He collapsed, hands smoking. She caught him before he hit the ground, trembling, the sword still glowing like a star trapped in steel. They crawled through the open door into a maintenance shaft leading up. Daylight, real sunlight, leaked through cracks above. He looked back once, through the broken hatch. The vault behind them glowed red, alive with spreading fire. "We made it," he gasped. She pulled him up, her grip iron strong despite her wounds. Not yet. They climbed, forcing themselves higher as sirens echoed through the steel maze. They burst through the last hatch and stumbled onto the outer hull. Wind hit them, wild and freezing. Below, the planet turned endless and blue. Then the voice came again, Warren's, cold and mechanical. "Protocol Oblivion active in 5 seconds. They stared at the vault below. He grabbed her hand. She didn't pull away. 4, the voice said. 3, the sector shuddered. 2, she whispered something he couldn't hear. 1, the vault breathed fire. The blast tore through metal and silence alike, venting light and ash into space. Sector Gamma burned until there was nothing left but a glowing scar. He looked at her. He killed everything, he said. She lifted the blade, its surface cracked but still alive. Not everything, she answered quietly. This survived. And so did we. The silence didn't last. Boots clanged on steel. Soldiers emerged from the haze, rifles raised. At their center stood Warren himself, helmet off, face marked by age and arrogance. You survived, he said. Despite your best efforts, Jake answered. Not my best, Warren replied. My best would have left you both dead. He turned to the woman. You don't understand what she is, he said. She's not a person. She's a plague, the last weapon of a dying race. As long as she exists, someone will use her. Jake stepped forward. Then maybe the problem isn't her. Maybe it's people like you. Warren's expression hardened. Stand down, Harris. Walk away and you live. Jake's hand didn't move. No, Warren sighed. Then you die with it. He raised his hand. Open fire. The soldiers moved, but the warrior moved faster. Her blade became light, slicing through barrels, armor, and air. In seconds, the squad was on the ground, alive, but broken. She stopped before Warren, eyes bright as frost. You're right, she said. My kind doesn't kill. We remember. She drove the blade into the wall beside his head, blue light crawling through the cracks. I will remember you, Marcus Warren, the man who buried truth because he feared it. Warren flinched. You think this changes anything? He spat. The project is dead. Then we'll make sure no one forgets why, Jake said. Warren hesitated, then turned and walked away, his surviving soldiers limping behind him. The warrior watched until he was gone. The wind howled around them. She turned back to Jake. You said I was a person, she said quietly. I choose to be one, he nodded. Then let's start there. They stood together on the cold hull, the ruined vault burning behind them, and for the first time since the awakening, the silence felt alive. They found a quiet medical bay, its lights dim and walls humming with the hum of forgotten machines. He sealed the doors behind them, locking the world out. She was already pulling off what was left of her armor, each piece falling to the floor with a soft, metallic sigh. Beneath it, her blue skin was marked with scars that told stories older than his nation. Some healed smooth and white, others still raw. The worst wound was the burn on her side, dark and deep, where plasma had kissed flesh. She looked at it without emotion. Can you repair this? She asked. Not repair, he said softly, opening the med kit. But I can keep you alive. He cleaned the wound carefully, sealing the burn with synthetic gel that steamed against her skin. She didn't flinch. Everything hurts, she murmured, voice steady. Then you're alive, he replied. Silence stretched between them. The lights flickered once, as if the station itself was listening. Finally, she said, Why did you wake me? His hand stilled. Orders. I thought I was retrieving an artifact. And yet you stayed, she said. You could have run. He met her eyes. Because I heard Warren's recording. I knew what he planned. I couldn't let him erase you again. Her expression softened, just barely. You gave me a choice, she said quietly. To die or to live. Few would have done that. He smiled faintly. Guess I'm not good at following orders. She leaned back against the wall, exhaustion dragging her eyelids down. Not warrior, she whispered, eyes closing. Not anymore. He covered her with a thermal sheet, checking her pulse, slow but strong. No, he said softly. Now you're Ilara. The peace didn't last. The doors shook, metal whining under pressure. He grabbed his weapon, heart hammering. They found us, he said. The wall exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped something wrong, 3 meters tall, black alloy gleaming like wet stone. No face, only a smooth dome of sensors that glowed red in sequence. The Alliance Arbiter, combat drone, execution model. Its voice crackled through static. Targets acquired. Comply or be neutralized. She was already moving. Her sword flared blue as she lunged. The Arbiter turned, one arm shifting into a cannon. It fired. The plasma blast turned a metal table into molten slag. Jake rolled aside, firing shots that cracked against its armor with no effect. Ilara's blade struck the joint in its shoulder. Sparks burst. One arm fell limp. Left side, he shouted. She pivoted, driving her sword through its knee. The arbiter fell, shaking the floor. Still it reached for her, its other hand humming with electricity. Jake fired again, hitting its sensor dome. Cracks spread. The drone spasmed, blind now, swinging wildly. Alara climbed onto its back and drove the sword through the glowing core. The hum stopped. The drone fell silent. Smoke filled the room. The two of them stood over the broken machine, catching their breath. That, she said, was harder than the others. Warren's sending his best, Jake said. He glanced toward the hall. More footsteps echoed, distant but closing. Then we run, she said. He nodded. Always. They sprinted into the corridor, shadows vanishing into the red light and alarms. They didn't stop running until they reached the lower decks, a maze of market stalls and neon-lit corridors. There, they found a century data broker, a creature of light and tentacles floating in a glass tank. You wish to broadcast restricted data? It asked, its voice like water through a pipe. Jake nodded, holding up a small black chip. Across every channel, every colony, no encryption. The broker's skin flickered blue-green. Expensive. Name your price. Not credits, it said. I want story. What truth does this chip hold? Alara stepped forward. The truth of my people. The Zira. The war you were told we started. The broker's glow dimmed, as if in mourning. I remember the propaganda. I remember the silence after. Jake inserted the chip into the console. A soft hum filled the room, then light. Holograms of alien cities, art, families, children. Then came the bombardments, fire, collapse. The Alliance's flag rising over ruins. A voice spoke in an old language, weary but clear. We fought only when all choices were gone. Remember us. When the light faded, the broker's skin shone a deep blue of grief. I will send this to every corner of the network, it said. The truth will live. Warren will come, Jake warned. Let him, the broker said. Fear has ruled long enough. The upload took 7 minutes. When it ended, Jake felt the weight lift from his chest. It's done, he said. Alara looked at him. Then everything changes. But before they could breathe, a message blinked across his wrist screen. Warren is coming. Full fleet. 12 hours before he destroys this station. He showed her the message. She said nothing, just nodded. We could run, he said. Hide. And leave thousands to burn? She asked. No. Together they warned the station. Evacuation began. Families boarding ships, alarms echoing through the corridors. 6 hours later, Warren's fleet arrived. 17 warships blocking the stars. His voice filled every screen. Surrender the fugitives, or the station dies. Jake looked at Alara. We can't fight them. We can buy time. They ran for their shuttle. He'll come for us, Jake said. Then we make it count. They launched, flying straight toward the fleet. He'll think we're trying to ram him, Jake said. We dive into the gas giant instead. The fleet opened fire. Plasma bolts filled the void. The shuttle shook, alarms screaming. Any prayers? Jake asked. My people didn't pray, Alara said. We endured. They hit the planet's upper clouds, diving deep. Pressure roared around them, metal screaming. Warren's ships followed, sensors blinded by the storm. Hours passed before the radar cleared. They're gone, Jake said. They think we're dead. Silence filled the cockpit. What now? She asked. We wait. Then we live. She looked at her hands. What if I can't be anything but what they made me? Then we figure it out, he said. Together. She reached for his hand. The storm outside swallowed the stars. Inside, for the first time, there was peace. When they surfaced, the fleet was gone. The station still stood, half evacuated but alive. We did it, Jake whispered. For now, Alara said. Her sword rested across her lap, its glow fading until it was just steel. The truth will spread, he said. It'll change something. Maybe, she said. But change is slow, the comm crackled. A new voice, young and human. Is this the crew who sent the Zira recording? My name is Kira. I want to help tell your story. Jake and Alara exchanged a glance. You found us, he said. Sanctuary station. 3 days' travel. I'll meet you there, the voice replied. He set the coordinates. Ilara leaned back, exhaustion softening her features. More running? She asked. No, he said. More choosing. Every time we speak, we make his lie smaller. She nodded. Then we keep fighting our way. The shuttle glided into the dark, stars stretching before them. Behind, the storm closed over their trail. Ahead, nothing promised safety, only truth. He looked at her, at the weapon that had become a person. You were made to avenge the dead, he said quietly. You taught me to live for them. She smiled, small, real, alive. Then maybe that's enough. And together they flew on into the endless black, two survivors carrying the weight of truth and the spark of something stronger than vengeance. Hope. 3 days later, the stars thinned into a field of metal and light. Sanctuary Station floated ahead, a fortress built from scrap and dreams, carved into a hollow asteroid. No flags, no laws, just survival. The air traffic was a mess of transport ships, scavenger craft, and cargo haulers weaving through docking lanes. Jake guided the shuttle in carefully, the hull still scorched from the dive through the gas giant. Looks peaceful, he said. For now, Ilara replied. Her voice was calm, but her white eyes scanned every movement, every ship. Places like this only stay peaceful until someone pays enough to change it. They docked at a forgotten berth near the outer ring. When the ramp opened, heat and noise flooded in, merchants shouting, engines whining, crowds pressing shoulder to shoulder. Jake kept his head down, but he could feel the weight of stares on them, especially her. She was impossible to miss. Blue skin, white eyes, the faint hum of a blade that didn't belong in this century. You draw attention, he murmured. Good, she said. Let them see what still lives. They pushed through the crowd, moving toward the meeting point Kira had sent. The reporter was waiting in a dim cafe at the edge of the lower docks. She looked barely 20, her hands shaking slightly as she set down her cup. You came, Kira said. After what you did, I had to. Jake sat across from her, scanning the exits. You said you wanted to tell our story. Not just yours, she said quickly. Theirs. The Zira. People need to see what the Alliance hid. Ilara studied her in silence, then nodded. Stories have power, she said. But power draws hunters. Kira's voice trembled. Then we tell it loud enough they can't silence it again. They stayed hidden in the lower ring for 3 days, while Kira prepared her broadcast. Every word had to count. She recorded interviews, played the old testimony, and wove it with the story of the vault, the purge, and the choice that defied death. When the final edit finished, she looked up at them. Once I send this, the whole system will know. Warren will come. He always does, Jake said. Ilara laid her hand over Kira's. Then you must be ready to endure. The message went live across 1,000 channels. In hours, it reached every colony, every outpost, every soldier who'd ever wondered what the war had really been about. The reaction came fast, shock, disbelief, anger. The Alliance called it disinformation. Others called it revelation. For the first time, people questioned the old stories. Jake watched the feeds in silence, his chest tight. You did it, he said. No, Kira answered. You did. I just made sure no one could look away. Peace didn't last. It never did. On the 5th day, the sensors screamed. 17 signatures, Warren's fleet again. Sanctuary's alarms blared. The station's governor broadcast a single message. We don't surrender. Jake looked at Ilara. He's here. She stood, her hand on the sword. Then it ends here. They joined the defense teams, civilians arming themselves with whatever they could find. Warren's fleet surrounded the station, but something was different this time. The channels were full of voices, other stations, merchant guilds, even old Alliance veterans, demanding Warren stand down. The truth had spread too far to bury. He could destroy them, but not the story. Over open comms, Warren's voice echoed cold and steady. You think the truth will save you? It only weakens the walls that protect you. Ilara answered him, her voice clear and calm. No, Colonel. Truth builds what fear cannot. You tried to kill a memory. You created a movement. The channel cut. The first shots fired. The battle raged for hours. Sanctuary's defenses were strong, but Warren's ships outgunned them 10-1. Fires spread through the lower decks. Explosions shook the docking rings. Jake and Alara fought side by side, guiding civilians to escape pods, firing back through clouds of smoke. The blade sang again, bright blue against red alarms. For every drone Warren sent, 2 more fell. But the cost was high. When the outer ring cracked, Jake grabbed her arm. "We have to go. If we leave, he wins," she said. "If we die, he wins too." For a moment, their eyes met. Fear, defiance, understanding. Then she smiled faintly. "You taught me that living is the hardest fight." Together, they raced to the command deck. Warren's voice filled the comms again. "Surrender, Harris. This station is lost." Jake keyed the channel. "Then you'll have to bury another truth with it." He rerouted the station's power grid through the defense field. The lights dimmed. The blade in Alara's hand began to glow, drawing the charge. She raised it high, and the station shone like a star, one last pulse of light that swept through the fleet. Warren's ship staggered, shields collapsing. When the light faded, half the fleet was crippled. Sanctuary still floated barely. Warren's flagship turned and fled. For the first time, he ran. In the silence after battle, smoke drifted through the corridors. Survivors cheered weakly, holding each other amid the wreckage. Kira's transmission had continued through the fight, broadcasting live, unfiltered, unstoppable. Across the colonies, people had seen the truth and the courage to defend it. Jake and Alara stood on the observation deck, staring at the stars returning through the haze. "He's gone," Jake said quietly. "For now," she replied. The sword, cracked and dim, rested in her hands. "The blade's power's spent," he said. She smiled faintly. "Then it's just metal again." He looked at her. "Maybe that's what freedom looks like." Kira approached, a bandage on her arm and a grin that didn't quite hide her fear. "They're calling it the dawn of truth," she said. "The whole system is talking." Alara turned toward her, voice soft. "Then our fight was worth something." Jake nodded. "Worth everything." Outside, the sun of a nearby star broke through the debris field, casting gold light across the station's battered hull. Alara looked at it and whispered, "Despite everything, we continue." And in that light, the blade that once waited 300 years lay quiet. Not a weapon anymore, but a witness to a war finally ending and the beginning of something new.